Some people wake up every morning looking for something to complain about, a reason to feel important, a way to make someone else's life just a little bit smaller so their own feels a little bit bigger. My neighbor Karen was exactly that kind of person, and the day she knocked on my door and told me that my house number was ruining her view, she had no idea she had just given me the most satisfying home improvement project of my entire life. Let me take you back to where this all began. I had lived in my home for several years before any of this happened. Nice property, well maintained, good curb appeal. I took pride in how my place looked. Fresh paint every few years, clean landscaping, everything neat and in order. My house number was displayed clearly near the front, standard metal numbers mounted on the wall beside my door. Nothing unusual, nothing excessive. The exact kind of house number you would see on any home on any street, in any neighborhood across the country. Karen lived 2 houses down from me. She was the kind of neighbor who had opinions about everything. The color of your flowers, the height of your grass, the type of car you drove. She had comments for all of it, and she never seemed to feel any hesitation about sharing those comments whether you wanted to hear them or not. Most people on the street had learned to simply nod politely and move on. I had done the same thing for years. Then one afternoon there was a knock on my door. I opened it, and there was Karen standing on my porch with that particular expression she wore when she had decided something was a problem. Tight lips, slightly raised eyebrows, the look of someone who had prepared what they were about to say. She told me that my house numbers were bothering her. I asked her what she meant. She explained that from her front window, which apparently had a direct sightline toward my house. She could see my house numbers clearly. And according to her, the style of the numbers, the finish, the way they caught the light at certain times of day, was ruining her view. She said it was an eyesore. She said it disrupted the aesthetic of the street, and then she told me with complete seriousness that she would appreciate it if I removed them or replaced them with something less visible. I stood there for a moment just processing what I was hearing. She was asking me to change my own house numbers on my own home, because she could see them from her window and did not like the way they looked. Not because they were illegal, not because they violated any code or rule, simply because Karen had decided they offended her personal sense of aesthetics. I told her politely that my house numbers were completely standard and that I had no plans to change them. She did not take that well. She told me she had already spoken to a few other neighbors about it and they agreed with her. She told me that as a community, we should all be mindful of how our properties affect the people around us. She said she hoped I would reconsider because she really did not want this to become an issue. I told her again, still politely, that I appreciated her sharing her thoughts, but that my house numbers were staying exactly where they were. She left with that tight-lipped expression still firmly in place. I closed my door and went back to my evening thinking that was the end of it. It was not the end of it. Over the next few weeks, Karen made this her personal mission. She brought it up with other neighbors and tried to build a case against my house numbers, like she was preparing for some kind of tribunal. She contacted the local neighborhood association, asking if there were any regulations about house number styles and finishes. She even sent me a handwritten note through my mailbox reiterating her concerns and suggesting specific styles of house numbers she felt would be more appropriate. A handwritten note about my house numbers. I read that note twice and then I sat down and thought carefully about how I wanted to respond to all of this. Because at this point it was clear that politely declining was not going to be enough. Karen was not going to simply accept that this was not her decision to make. She was going to keep pushing until something changed, so I decided something was going to change, just not in the way she was expecting. I picked up the phone and called a landscaping and stonework company. I told them exactly what I had in mind. They told me it was absolutely doable. We discussed sizing, placement, and the engraving process. By the end of that call, I had placed an order and scheduled a delivery date. Karen wanted my house number gone. Instead, she was about to see it in a way she could never unsee. The delivery was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. I had taken the day off specifically because I wanted to be present for every single moment of it. The truck arrived at 8. A large flatbed carrying a 5-ton granite boulder. Solid dark gray, naturally rough on the outside with one flat face professionally smoothed and prepared for engraving. The crane lifted it carefully and placed it exactly where I had planned. Right at the front corner of my property, perfectly visible from the street and, as I had very deliberately calculated, directly from Karen's front window, and carved into that flat face, deep and clean and permanent in large elegant lettering, was my house number. Not small, not subtle. 5 tons of solid granite going absolutely nowhere for the next several hundred years. I did not have to wait long for the reaction. About an hour after the crew left, I saw Karen's front door open. She came outside and then she stopped. She stared. I could see from across the yards the exact moment it registered. Her expression went through confusion, then recognition, then something that looked very much like disbelief. She walked slowly to my property line, looked at the boulder, looked at the house number carved into it, looked at the sheer size of it. Then she looked up at me. I gave her a friendly wave. She did not wave back. Later that afternoon, she came over and knocked on my door. She asked me what I thought I was doing. I told her I had taken her feedback seriously and decided to upgrade my house numbers. Higher quality material, professional engraving, much more durable than standard metal. I told her I was very happy with how it turned out. She told me it was ridiculous. She told me it was a massive overreaction. She said she was going to contact the neighborhood association again and find out if large rocks were even allowed on residential properties. I told her she was welcome to do that and that I had already checked every local ordinance and code before placing the order. There was nothing illegal, nothing prohibited, nothing anyone could do about it. She left without another word. The neighborhood association confirmed exactly what I already knew. Nothing wrong, nothing illegal. A property owner placing a decorative granite boulder on their own land was entirely within their rights. Karen never knocked on my door about it again. What made it even better was the reaction from everyone else. Neighbors came by to look at it. Several asked for the engraver's contact information. One neighbor told me it was the most creative solution to a neighbor dispute he had ever seen. Delivery drivers started using it as a landmark. Karen wanted my house number smaller, quieter, less visible. Instead, she got to watch a crane place 5 tons of granite directly in her sightline, and has had to look at my house number every single day since. Larger and more permanent than it has ever been. Some problems deserve a solution that lasts for centuries. Mine was always going to be the second kind.